Salamatian.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start very slowly because you probably know about Murphy's Law. Have you heard about Murphy's Law? No? The most improbable thing always happens. So no matter how much I wait, when I start speaking, 2 minutes later, the rest of the students are going to arrive, correct? So I will start slowly, okay? So this is our seventh lecture. Thank you for all of you who have joined. I recognize some faces now, and I'm very happy to do that. But also, I'm very appreciative because I know it's been busy, and also a lot of you are fasting. So thank you for coming. It's really appreciated. So today we're going to talk about research topics. All of you, no matter what level in your career you are, you will be interested on writing a piece of research. We're interested in writing research because this is the way that we make impact in the world, okay? Whether this research is used for policy, or this research is used for your own good, or you want to, or you need to write your final thesis for your degree, no matter what the purpose is, all of you will encounter this. And research is very much fun, but it's also very much a lot of work, and there is a bit of frustration in the process. So with this talk I'm going to give, I'm going to try to help you out on this process. Now, in the world, there is something that is called the 3-minute thesis. Have you heard about it? No? It's called 3T, like 3T. Not like ET, but like this, I'll show you. Three-minute thesis, okay? So it's a competition around the world in all possible subjects. And every year there is a winner, and the winner can come from any field, and someone presents their research in 10 minutes. Okay? So imagine how difficult this must be. The work from 4 years for your undergraduate program, or for a master's degree, or for a PhD, presenting all your results in 3 minutes. So it's difficult, but it's doable. And I like it a lot because it allows you to summarize the main findings, okay, of your dissertation. So I wanted to show you an example, which we will in a second. What did I tell you about Murphy's Law? See, it happened. So this research allows you to summarize. So I think it's a good idea to practice, to do a 3-minute dissertation or a 3-minute topic on the things that you are interested. Another excellent exercise for all of you who have parents and especially grandparents is presenting your research proposal to your grandparents. Your grandparents love you very much. However, they don't care too much about what you are doing because everything you do is wonderful, but also they will ask all the possible questions. What? You're solving an equation? Why? Why is it important? And all of these things are important. So I think it's also a great exercise. I always tell my students, present your topic, not your results, not your methodology, nothing else, just your idea to your grandparents. And if they're happy with it, this is a good indicator that your topic is good, okay? Because it's relevant. Your grandparents will tell you the truth. Believe me, try them tonight all over the weekend and tell them I say hello, by the way, but it's going to be a funny exercise. So I'm going to show you, first of all, these 3-minute pieces, just to have an example of what it is. Okay.
Marie is representing Birmingham Business School this afternoon, and the title of Marie's talk today is Structural Change, Economic Development and Macroeconomic Policy.
Good afternoon. A friend recently uploaded a photo like this of their child, and naturally, it got me thinking about my research. I work with macroeconomic models, that is, models that try to explain a country's economy at the nationwide level. And this picture made me realize that this is the situation I find myself in when it comes to the use of modern models. You see, because these shoes are clearly made for human feet, they're also made for humans in a completely different stage of development to those seen wearing them. I find a quote by Joseph Stiglitz actually puts this most succinctly. He writes that macroeconomics was developed in and for industrialized countries. Both theory and policy were concerned with how monetary and fiscal policy should be used in industrialized economies in order to attain full employment, control inflation, and stabilize economic activity. Developing countries often use this corpus of knowledge without any significant modification. But it is by no means clear that the application of these theories to developing countries is either appropriate or justified. And yet, this is exactly what we do. We take these models that have been built using theories that describe industrialized countries and estimate them to fit developing countries. And then we use them for the type of policy analysis and economic predictions that inform the very decisions we make to better the lives of an entire population. I come from South Africa, arguably the most developed country in sub-Saharan Africa. We have experienced, including the period of the financial crisis, an average growth rate of around 3% per annum for the past 13 years. And in that exact same period, we have seen unemployment average 27%, with it currently sitting around 25%. Modern models find this very hard to capture or explain, and I believe it's because there's something fundamental missing. The shoe just doesn't fit. It is indisputably of vital importance that the models we use to analyze and make our policy decisions capture the structural differences that define us as a developing country in the first place. Aspects such as the agricultural and informal sectors, our level of education and skills, and how all these influence how our economy functions. My research will include both a data-driven study of what encourages and impedes economic growth, as well as the theory-based development of modified macroeconomic models, all with the aim of improving the analysis and implementation of macroeconomic policy in the developing world. Thank you.
Can you see how we explain this makes impact? Okay? So when I was telling about your grandparents, I was saying, well, that's a good idea. That's the kind of thing I have in mind. She didn't go to the structural change and how she's incorporating endogenous variables in economic growth. She just explained it in small words, how her research is important and how it makes impact. Okay, so I chose this one in particular because I like development economics and also because I agree with what she has said about models not fitting our developing world. Okay, so I think it is interesting and I will really ask you, now that you're preparing your final thesis and your topic, to view it in this way. So I'm going to give you some examples about this, and we're going to walk through it. Perfect. So now that we changed screens and everything, why are we interested in research? Research allows you to pursue your interest, to learn something new, to find some problem-seeking skills and challenge yourself into new ways. You are going to gain hands-on experience by completing your research. Those are the learning objectives you have for your final thesis, okay? So that's what they tell you. You can be working with other people, earn economic credits, scholarships, money, once you have conducted research. However, the main reason why we do research is because it has impact, because it matters. So impact means that we can change policy. If we have a great research, we can open the eyes of policymakers and say, look, here is what you should be looking at. We'll inform policymakers. However, it's also what we have an impact factor. So your lecturers here know very well about that. I know about it because our jobs very much depend on the impact factor that we have. So this impact factor is a measure of the frequency in which a journal article has been cited, okay? So if you search my name on Google Scholar, you will find that my article is published in a journal with medium range impact factor, okay? So how many people read it? And this impact factor matters. And we're going to see how you are going to use this impact factor in order to make your research, okay? So you're going to soon do your research project. So this is going to require knowledge that you already gathered in these 4 years, creativity, time management is very important, okay? You think that a thesis can be written in 3 weekends. I can tell you, you can't, okay? I know that you're going to say, Maria, but you don't know. I don't eat or drink, or I just do the dissertation. It's physically impossible, okay? So you cannot do it. And it implies a lot of work and selecting what exactly do you want to do. So you could join me for some activities. We're going to do lots of activities today. So you can take out something out of this topic. All the questions today are anonymous, so don't you worry. Nobody's going to judge you about your research topic, but it might be useful for you to look at it. Okay? Just one person has joined? Gosh. Come on. 2, 3. Okay. Excellent. So my first question would be to think what branch of economics you are interested, micro, macro, both, or none of them. Okay, so this is the first question. You already know which branch you are. So thanks God, nobody said no. So you already have an idea, okay? Okay, so it's micro, it's macro. For those ones who answer both, soon enough, you will have to decide, okay? I know that a lot of macro models have micro foundations, but you should know, is it macro that I'm interested or is it micro? So you'll have to decide. Have I lost it? We somehow lost connection. I don't know why, but so I asked you which branch of economics you were interested on to start with. And the next question is going to be, yeah.
Sorry, can you show again the code?
8408. Yes, we lost connection here too. Suddenly there was no internet. Okay, so if you're thinking both, you still have to decide, okay? My next question would be, and that's quite important, is if you're interested on theoretical work, so that means like the girl we just saw about Birmingham, she was thinking about the models, okay? Which models? How to write an equation, a model, a problem from theory, okay? Just from theory. Or are you interested in empirical work? Something that is applied. All of you are interested in empirical work? No theorists here? Okay, good. I like empirical work, but that's you. A couple of people like theory. We can't live without it, okay? So theory and empirical, but obviously empirical is amazing. I love it. But you can also think about your dissertation from theory point of view. Okay? You probably have a very general idea of what you're interested in. But if still you're unsure what exactly you want to do, hopefully this should start taking shape. So I will recommend you to gather background information, to have a general overview, have a couple of resources. Another thing for those of you who are interested in empirical work, think about the data. Okay? So now as we speak, I want you to start thinking, so I like macro. What exactly do I like? Do I like development economics? Do I like crime economics? Do I like health economics? Start thinking a little bit more specific, okay? So that we can end up with something today. So in one sentence, and I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to think about it, can you write the title of your research project? Are you thinking about education of young mothers, education of primary school, higher education, health? Are you thinking about criminology? What are you thinking to do for your dissertation? Just two people are going to do a dissertation. Okay. International trade, health economics, middle class. That was me when I was younger, many years ago. I was interested in that. I wanted to see the middle class in Mexico had disappeared. So I was looking at bimodality, okay? Development. Great topic. Adolescent smoking behavior. Education. Labor economics, education economics, okay? I'm gonna wait one more, two more. Environmental economics, potential economic of the environmental economics, maybe. So can you see all your topics are super general? Yes, there is no specific, but you haven't thought about it, okay? But my job today is to take you by the hand and help you try to make this a little bit more specific. psychology economics, environmental kids, what about environmental economics? The topic is huge. So you have to start narrowing down little by little the topic, okay? And I'm going to show you how to do that. So, economic gap. What subtopics relate to the broader topic? So start thinking, I'm interested in environmental economics. What this specifically has to do with environmental economics? Am I interested in economic growth? Or am I interested in the relationship between poverty and environmental economics? Am I thinking about recycling? What exactly am I thinking? So start thinking about the subtopic. What questions do these sources raise? Okay? What do you find interesting about the topic? So you're going to tell me, Maria, I'm interested in health economics. Why? That's why I tell you to talk to your grandparents, okay? So imagine them. What? Why? Health economics? Why? What is a health economics? Useful, okay? So consider your audience. Who would be interested in this topic? The bigger the audience, the bigger the impact, correct? If it's only interesting to you, that's amazing, okay? Because it's going to make your motivation really high. But ideally, it should be interested to more people so that you have more impact. Explore the following questions. Open-ended. How? I'm interested in how. How are you interested in health economics? Why are you interested in health economics? And consider the following approach. So what? So I'm going to give you my example. I was interested in the disappearing middle class in Mexico in the 90s. And so what? So what if the middle class is disappearing in Mexico? Well, it's important because the middle class holds most of the education, and that's important for economic growth. So what? So it's also important because you can start enumerating the reasons why this is going to have impact. So the so what question is very relevant. Why should it matter to others? Why it matters to you? Reflect on the questions that you have considered and identify one or two questions you find engaging so that you could further explore that topic. So we started with with environmental economics, and we say, so what if, what about, why environmental economics? Because of global warming. And so what? Because global warming will reduce economic growth in the next 20 years. If that is the question, see how you start narrowing your question. You are interested to start with environmental, and suddenly you start narrowing your topic of research. Determine and evaluate your research question. What aspect of this more general topic you will explore? You will have to find if your research question is clear, if it's focused, or if it's complex, okay? So if we want to be clear, there should be clarity, they should be specific, okay? Should be focused. And of course, your graduates from one of the best universities in Indonesia. It shall be complex, okay? It shall be complex because you are too good. Now, as we keep going, I would like you to hypothesize. If you're making an argument, what would you say? So if you're saying, well, actually, the disappearing middle class will increase polarization, and by increasing polarization, it will increase conflict. Okay? So that is my main argument. Why is it important? Nobody wants to have conflict in a country. How might others challenge your topic? So I want to move now from your grandparents to your classmates. You're going to stop asking questions to your grandparents and you're going to start with your classmates, okay? How would they challenge it? Go with the classmates that you like the least. They are going to be really helpful. Okay, so look around, okay? If you sat far from the people that you don't like, look at the other side of the classroom. They're gonna help you, okay? And go tell them, my topic is this. So dumb, really old topic. Why would anybody be interested in that? You can defend your topic there, okay? And come with the arguments of why this might be useful. What kind of sources, and here we start thinking, what kind of sources will actually help you to support your argument? So when you're talking with this person, with this classmate that doesn't really like you and you don't really like, you can start thinking, well, the UN published in 1995 such and such and such. The data supports my hypothesis. Okay, so start thinking about the possible sources that you will have to actually reduce or make this general topic a little bit more specific. So a sample research question should be clear, specific, and it should strike the right balance between simple and complex. If it's too simple, it's too simple, okay? But if it's too complex, you don't want to be in the middle of your writing your thesis and say, oh, it was too difficult, okay? So the right balance between simple and complex. So I'm going to show you some examples of what am I trying to say. Why are social networking sites harmful? This statement, this research question is very unclear. But instead, if I say, how are online users experiencing or addressing privacy issues on social networking sites like Instagram and Facebook? That's clear, okay? It gives me a direction where I'm going. Of course, I have to say the more unclear the topic, it sounds better, correct? Oh, that sounds interesting, but it's just too general. You want to be more specific. Another case of not being specific enough, let's say, what is the effect on the environment from global warming? I say a lot, no? But it's not specific. Instead, if I say, how is glacial melting affecting penguins in the Antarctica? That's specific, okay? So think about it. So what exactly you are thinking about environmental economics? How CO2 emissions are affecting economic growth? Can I prove the existence of an environmental cosnet curve? How is poverty in Indonesia affecting economic growth? How is poverty of females in Indonesia? The more specific you go, the better it is, okay? So try to think about a specific, clear questions. Another important aspect of your thesis is to think about the data. For those of you that are going to do empirical work. And this is important because they go hand in hand. I can think a lot about the topic that I'm interested in, but if there is no data, I'm nobody, okay? So, for example, today I have the chance to talk to your classmates that are doing master's degree and PhD on crime economics. And I presented a model, okay? And it's a model that takes into account recorded crime and victimization survey, okay? To try to find the real level of crime. And it is an amazing model, I must admit. It's nice, and I can run regressions, and I can do many things. But then it came to talking about Indonesia, and I said, you could do this. And then they said, no, we can't, because we don't have victimization survey. Okay, so you just have recorded crime. So if there is no data, there is no point on studying a lot about what you can do if there is no data. Okay, so the choice of the topic goes hand in hand with data availability. Okay, especially for your dissertation. So if there is no data available, what are you going to do? So try to find your data. So now that we talk about, we want the research question to be clear and specific, yes, and the right balance between simple and complex. Take your time, think about it. What am I going to do? And at the beginning you told me, I'm interested in health economics, I'm interested in environment. Try now to think about the research question that is a little bit more clear. I know some of you are bored and thinking, why should I? Believe me, it's going to help you. If it doesn't help you now, it's going to help you in the future. We have a lot of time, so it's fine. It's looking a lot better, right? It suddenly took you from thinking, I don't know if it's micro, to suddenly limited on poverty, Indonesian why and that Muslims' quality of life towards development economics. Okay, good. It's a lot more specific, you see? And if you do this exercise when you're at home, when you're relaxed, you can start thinking more and more and more, you can start narrowing down the impact of formal sector to gender wage gap for female labor. Excellent, right? And somewhat before you said the gap. So now it's taking a bit of shape. I also like the one of adolescent smoking. Impact on birth spacing on children, wellness, stunting. Excellent. Very specific. Components of the regional autonomy in DI Yogyakarta. How does a mother employment status influence the future employment status of their daughter? I can tell you it's proven to increase, okay? But you can try the regression and it's going to work. I can assure you. So, interesting to see. I know it's like knowledge is difficult because it's like, oh, we have to think about it. Yes, we have to think about it and we'll be fine. And it's interesting and it makes you go into this challenge, okay? So you need to prepare your data in order to do that. Preparing the data, it's not as easy as one could think, okay? You know there is somewhere a database and there is the questionnaire. So patience, I can assure you, you need patience and you need to relax and try to find your data. Identify your data. Data doesn't usually come in a useful format. Okay? Data, I don't know why, it comes in a very useless way, correct, lecturers? Yes, it's like, they could make my life a lot easier, but no, it's hard. So you have to change the, the names of the variables. You may have to clean the missing values because missing values are difficult, okay? So they are coded 0 to 99. And if you just use them like that, it's gonna count them as a number, okay? So you have to find out how to treat the missing values. Sometimes one of the variables that you need is in one file and the other in the other. So you may have to merge files and prepare your data. And most importantly, run some descriptive statistics. I know that the estimation is not going to create so the linear or the deviation or that. So this is for you. You need some good descriptive statistics. So you how many missing values do you have? It tell you a little bit about the level that you're in the farm. Also, very important to have some knowledge to know if this is normally distributed, normal, like a Pareto, like a type square, it's fine. Okay? So, the relation with your so, what you have is from a statistic, you have some facts, and you have an idea how to do that. So, in terms of to the topics that you will be, so how is the modern implementation going to be future or improvement of the so I have to find out if I have enough data, right? And not the dollar. I need to have find out if yeah, of the data. So all these things have to be in my the compound of the project is that okay. I think it's talking about the I really want to go to want to create a model that explains the environmental degradation and the completely opposite of what we have done in the world before. It's complex, it could be yes. Economically there is an impact and there is a headache and not yes, so trying to know into ambitious, right? So make it difficult, make sure that you find data. If you have data, they are still existent because the so without doing high education, yes, but I don't think how to for this. So I invented my own data. So I wanted to create organization. The next organization that I really so I have distribution and I have unit for distribution and then I have a model and then I have a model, things like that. So we can take some data, there's still things to do. You can still create the data and you can still know the context. You can look at other time period. There are things to do, but you must complete the data. Data on the exact thing that you want to use it. Just that we can housekeeping thing. I do hold just that they were going to carry out the so you may ask this thing about considering empirical data and if not you could do something different, okay? When you have a very hard to solve theoretical problem, and those of you who are going to do theory, start thinking from something basic, okay? So start with something simple, and then add on. Usually in Europe, my students, when they're writing their thesis, they come with a super magnificent regression that has about 25 explanatory variables. So that's crazy, because I don't know what each of the effects mean, you know? And then they have multicollinearity and what have you. So start with something basic and then make it harder. So for example, we covered the Mincer equation of wages, do you remember? And I said that wages depended on experience and education. You can try that and add another variable, gender, and then add another variable, occupation, you know? You're an economist or if you're a computer scientist. I don't know who earns more, but I would like to think computer scientist. Okay, so try different things, but calmly, okay? Don't want to eat the world with one bite. You will find it. So always start with the simplest, with a long list of realistic features so that it's easier to analyze your model, okay? To find first derivatives and so on. So we're going to go into finding the literature review. The literature review accounts for everything that has been published on your topic. Everything. So, wow, I want to write something about the gender pay gap. How much literature there is on that? How do I select what is relevant or irrelevant? So hopefully I'm going to try helping you with that. In writing the literature review, your purpose is to convey to the reader what knowledge and ideas have been established on a topic and what are the strengths and weaknesses. So you look at, say, 10 papers, and you're going to say they all use the same model, or they use the same variation of the model, or all of them use different models, okay? So you have to compare them in general. Remember, a lot of people think that the literature review is a summary of each paper. And usually my students will come and say, so how many papers do I need to read? I don't know. It really depends on your topic. If you're doing gender pay gap, there are thousands of papers. However, if you're doing something about smoking in adolescents, it may be a little bit more narrow. So there might be 20 papers, read them all, okay? So we're gonna try to find, it's not just a list of all the material that is available. So careful. Your literature review should have these two components. It should be information seeking. So you're trying to find all the methods that you have that have been done in a particular setting, and it should be critical, okay? You should be able to establish scholars are debating the existence of a page gap, a gender page gap, or all scholars have agreed that there is a gender page gap. That's the truth, okay? So try to be critical in your literature review. You have to be super organized, okay? You should be able to summarize or synthesize the results. Identify the areas of controversy in the literature. Why academics do not agree? Where they don't agree? And try to formulate the questions that need further research. Here, it helps you narrow your topic. Okay, so if there is something that is missing, you can add it here. How to approach the task of writing a literature review? What is the specific problem or research question that my literature review helps me define? So start thinking, am I just making a compilation of papers on gender pay gap? Or is it trying to help me to understand the methods? Or is it trying to help me understand the differences in the results? Okay, so all of this will help. And look at the issues of theory, methodology, policy, and try to look at the scope of the literature. What types of publications you are using? Has my research been wide enough to ensure I have found all the relevant material? So you want it to be wide, it is a balance, but you also want it to be narrow, because there is some material that is really irrelevant for you, okay? Is the number of sources I have used appropriate for my paper? Have I cited and discussed studies contrary to my perspective? This is interesting, okay? Usually, we go and try to find the things that agree with us. So try to find things that really do not agree with our way of thinking to make this literature review comprehensive. So I'm going to show you more or less where you start from. Books are always amazing, okay? But they are a broad topic. You will need to start looking at papers, seminal papers. And how are you going to do that? So the starting point, there are other ways of finding papers, but I'm going to start with something really general that we can all do, okay? So I'm going to start with Google Scholar. So if you all go into your laptops, the ones that have on it to your phones, and type in Google Scholar, so we can do a little search on paper. Are we all there yet? Yeah? Okay. So this is my search strategy. We're going to spend some time developing a search strategy that can help me find all my literature. Okay? This search strategy is going to allow me to provide a relevant database or a relevant list of papers. It's going to be comprehensive. I'm going to be able to consider to apply limits or filters based on inclusion or exclusion criteria, and I'm going to produce search which can be easily replicated and verified. So let's imagine this is your topic, okay? It's called How Did 1990s Trade Liberalization Impact Labor Income Inequality in South America? So it's clear, it's specific, okay? So that's my topic. So I'm going to have search strings, okay? These search strings, you can have a table in Excel that divides the topic, okay? And you can use and or, and you can break the words. It can be liberalization, trade. You must consider difference in spelling, okay? Liberalization with a Z or liberalization with an F. South America, it could be Brazil, Argentina. So you can have all these that are the and or search. Truncation is a symbol that allows you to have a general search. For example, if I write, rather than writing trade, I write trade, and then an asterisk, that is going to find me words such as trades, trading, trader, traded, okay? So that might be useful. That makes your search wider. In the case of this topic, say that you're interested in page in gender pay gap. It's so big that you don't want even more general. You may want something more specific. Phrase searching. So on phrase searching, I'm going to ask you to search on Google Scholar your topic, okay? The topic that you told me you were interested on. And I want you to search on it, write it down, such as health economics, environment, anything you want. And look at the number of papers that you can find. Okay, so do it now. Okay, you found something? Yeah? Thousands of papers, correct? Okay. Now search with inverted commas. Exactly what you typed in, but in between commas. So what do I mean? So for example, trade liberalization, but with speech marks. Okay? It turns out that this is more specific. So when I type in on Google Scholar trade liberalization, it gives me 1.110 papers in less than 6 seconds, so 0.06 in 6 milliseconds, okay? But if I write, this is without speech marks, and if I write it with speech marks, it gives me only 445. Okay? In a little bit more, but 2 milliseconds is not bad, is it? So this allows you to narrow. So if you put your topic in general, okay, it's going to give you thousands of papers. If you write it in between speech marks, you can have smaller, narrow. So we looked at the asterisk. The asterisk makes it bigger, search, and this makes it narrow. For example, I'll tell you something. I'm interested in something that is called the click. I'm interested in entropy, so it's called the Kuba-Cleaver information criterion. Like 100 people know about it, and me. Okay, so when I write click, it gives me nothing. So I need to write KL asterisk. So it gives me more. Okay. I don't need to use speech marks, but you may do. So that's something that you may want to do. If you are using advanced search techniques, you can use or and or not. Okay. So if I write something South America or Latin America or Brazil and trade, so try to use all these connectors to do your search. So this is now my little thing to try to find things on Google Scholar. Now, when you go into Google Scholar, it also allows you to take the citations from there, okay? So if I search on Google Scholar, what will happen if I go to start or to speech marks, it's going to tell me the number below each resource. For this paper at the top has been cited 37 times. The more citations a paper has, that's impact. Remember, I told you what was impact at the beginning. The more citation it has, the more relevant it is to you. It then means it's an important paper. If it has been cited by 2 people, well, nobody cares. As well as reading the references of the original, you can also click on cited by, who has cited the paper. And that's useful because that paper is the paper that you love. You can see who has cited it and all the applications that have been done with that paper. Okay? So that may be useful as well. So think about these techniques when trying to make your literature review, your keyword search. Sometimes you may find too few results, so try alternative, less specific words. Use or, apply truncation, check the spelling, and check the database coverage. If you have too many results, try more specific keywords. Use and to include additional concepts, and apply phrase searching if relevant. Limits about date, language, title. So gender pay gap, you may be interested in what has happened in the last 10 years. You don't need to know what happened 50 years ago, okay? And you may have just right, okay? Is it enough? Have I covered everything? There are other places to find relevant discussions. You might be thinking, Maria, this is really not relevant for me. I am polygastric because I don't even know what I'm going to do for my final thesis. Well, wherever you are in your career, start thinking about it. It might be useful. Where do I find relevant things? There is something that is called the conversation. And I just searched, and there is the conversation in Indonesia. It's very relevant nowadays because it's mostly about elections. But there is also a section on economics. And there are academics who discuss the current affairs, okay? It's not peer-reviewed, it's not a paper, so it's probably just their opinion. But it gives you an idea of what's going on, okay, in the environment. So you can search the conversation UK, you can search the conversation in the world, or you can search the one in Indonesia. I also loved it because it's obviously in Indonesian and in English, so I can translate all the articles, so that's nice. You can look also at newspapers. Newspapers can give you an idea of possible research avenues. You can look at the box of broadcasts. Podcasts and broadcasts are also a good source of ideas, okay? So I can see some of you are thinking, I have no idea what I'm going to do. Start thinking, okay? The more you invest in it, the better your thesis is going to be. Look at the economics. Look at LSE has a really nice podcast. That might be useful. Radio, news briefing, podcasts, everywhere. Now, you will need to manage your references. That's complicated because, believe it or not, you're going to read a lot. And there are specific programs for your reference management. However, if you don't use a program, it just requires some organization. So just try to be organized with your references. We don't want you to think, I read this. I know I read it, but now, where did I read it? Where did I read it? And you start thinking, okay, I think it's in this paper. And you go and you read it again. No. And you go to the other. And that takes you 5 hours of reading papers and you didn't find it. Okay, so be organized. I don't want you to be like this girl lost in her references. There is a particular way of writing references. In York, we use the Harvard referencing style. Some people use APA, American Psychology Association. That's common. All the languages are the same, but just be consistent, okay? So when you write your references, use one method and one method only. These are some examples of how you reference. Think about your data, because without data, we are just another person with an opinion. Yeah? Okay, so I have to ask you questions about your data now. So, does data for your research exist? Yes or no, or I don't know. Have I lost all the class? No. 10 people are still here and awake. I don't know, it's a good question. At least you know there's something you have to find out. You don't need to know now. You just need to start thinking about it. It's definitely not a bad question, and it's not a bad answer. If you know, fabulous. If it doesn't exist, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to change your topic? Are you going to do it about another country? Are you going to use another time period? Are you going to make up your own data? It's nice, eh? Making your own data is also really nice statistically. Okay, there are other sources, say the World Bank with an open data, and I'm sure you, as a big business school, you have access to a lot of databases. So always use good databases. Don't use the data that your friend has given you. Never use data that your friend gives you, because you will lose the friendship, and the data is not going to be useful. Okay, so do you want a 5-minute break or should we carry on? Carry on. Okay. Those of you who have fallen asleep, who's your neighbor? Okay. Wakey, wakey. So now you know your topic, you know specific, and you have your data. Okay. The next step is to write a research proposal. A research proposal does not have to be long or big. It's just about 1,000 words. It's 1 page, front and back, okay? And if it's single spaced and very small letter, it's just 1 page, okay? 1 page. It's not terrible. So the purpose of this is to ensure that you are prepared to undertake the research work that you are proposing. It helps you to make clear that the project is manageable within the time period. It also helps you to show that you understand the scale of the issues and the problems you're addressing relating to the field. Okay? So this is useful. It's a useful thing. It's for you. A lot of times we are either oversimplistic or overcomplicated. So this may help you. Okay? So write your research proposal. How do I write it? Okay, I'm going to tell you how. Write a small introduction. Okay? Explain what's the main purpose of your research and the title, the background, the central issues of your research. More precisely, set the underlying reasons for undertaking this specific research. You may also say, what are your motivations? Okay, so try to write this down. Why? Why am I taking this specific research? This is a paragraph, eh? This is not like a page. This is just a paragraph. In a paragraph, write down a brief introduction. Then write a small summary of your existing literature. That's another paragraph. So at this stage, you haven't read all your literature, okay? This hasn't happened. But this literature review is the backbone of your bigger literature review that you're going to write for your thesis, okay? So try to write a very small literature review of what the state of affairs is. Paragraph, okay? Now, this is the main meat. Write your hypothesis and research question. In this section, you should expand your introduction. You should discuss your primary focus of the dissertation. When writing your hypothesis, use a strong positive sentence. That's your hypothesis. Environmental degradation increases economic growth. That's a hypothesis, okay? And it's a strong positive statement. This is your research question. The research hypothesis and resource questions will help you to set out what are you hoping to achieve at the end of this thesis. They will help you narrow down the research outcomes and also help you define the key steps needed to be followed to achieve this, okay? This is the main part of your research proposal. This is like 2-3 paragraphs. This is important. Sometimes your lecturers or whoever is going to look at your dissertation may not read it, okay, or may read it. I don't know how good your lecturers are. But this is important for you, okay? It doesn't matter what your lecturer says, it matters what you have found out. Spend the time writing this page. It doesn't matter if it's marked or not marked, that's completely irrelevant. I can tell you it's going to make your life a lot easier. So now, if you let me know, what is your hypothesis? So we have done a lot of things. You told me what you wanted to do. So you told me that you were interested in employment of doctors given that the mothers work. What is your hypothesis? Your hypothesis in that case would be the mothers that work have daughters that work, you know? What's your hypothesis now? So try to be specific. What are you trying to prove? The independent effect of the development. No, I want something stronger there, okay? There have feedback relations. Also, it's quite vague. Remittance will decrease poverty rates. Excellent. Excellent. That's your hypothesis. You think that remittances will decrease poverty rate. Smoke initiation in a relatively young age is likely to disrupt the development process for teenagers. Excellent. Yeah, okay. I think rather than do, I would active merchant will be richer than other. Tobacco tax will decrease the household cigarette consumption. No, because this is very inelastic. It allows you to have more money for taxes, no? Birth spacing will increase the children's wellness, decrease something. Excellent hypothesis. Flooding will reduce the educational performance of primary schoolers due to potential school disruption or destruction. Good? Yeah, all of them. Good hypothesis. After you write your hypothesis, it comes your research methods. That's another big chunk of your research proposal, okay? That's another big part of your research proposal. you should describe how you will carry out your research. So you have your hypothesis. How are you going to prove it? I am going to do a regression. I'm going to use panel data to prove this. I am going to do test of means. I am going to do difference in difference model. Whatever you're going to do, this is the place where you are going to write why you think this is the methodology you're going to use and why is it appropriate for your research questions. In this section, you can write an equation, okay? This is like, I have an equation, I can think about it. So this is super useful, I think, because it will tell you how feasible it is. So here, if you have an equation with 25 independent variables, you will notice it here, and you will say, this doesn't even fit in Word, okay? It's just so long, it just doesn't fit. You will realize if this is feasible or not. And that's important because if you think most of the papers use difference in difference methodology, but difference in difference is complicated. Why would you use that? So start thinking about the method. Is it possible for you to do it or not? Here, you will have on research methods, you will have to say, what data sources will you use? And when I asked you, you have data, some of you said yes, some of you said no, some of you said, I don't know. At this stage of writing your research proposal, you should definitely know if there is data. Why? What type of data you're going to use? And do you have access to this data? If this is publicly available, if the university has access to the data set, please try to describe the limitations of your research methods. If you're just running a simple linear regression, say, the application is limited, correct? If you are doing a super good model, just try to say, well, one of the limitations is that the parameter, there is endogeneity, for example, or you have multicollinearity. Try to anticipate the possible issues that you will have in your methodology. It's always better that you criticize yourself than other people notice what's missing. Can you imagine an equation that would describe your hypothesis? So now you told me your hypothesis. So let's imagine if you have a possible equation that would describe your hypothesis. Maybe it's a great answer. Maybe it's a super good answer. Because at this stage, I mean, I came with you and you were like not sure if it's micro, macro. Now you kind of know, now it's narrowing down. And maybe it's a perfect answer because you don't know what else you're going to add, okay? And no, it's start thinking about it, okay? And then yes, we can give them a round of applause, no? Well done. Whoever has the equation, fabulous. That's great news, okay? So this is how the whole process will go. And with this in mind, you can ask me anything you want. Any questions here? Yes.
Thank you. My name is Valen. I want to ask about in the beginning we have two options like theoretical and empirical. I'm sorry, maybe I missed something. Could you explain what is our work in theoretical approach? Do we create new model to solve our problem or something else? Thank you for your answer.
So the job of theoretical models is to bring light into the theory discussion, okay? So they have no application yet, okay? So we leave the empiricals to other economists, but in theory you create a model that is going to explain certain behavior. For example, I have a little model on how to measure polarization. It has to do with entropy. And I'm just going to write the theory, okay? And then if other people find my paper useful, they can do an application of my formula, okay? So I'm coming with a formula. Or you can come with a model, behavioral model. Or you can come with a new game, with different application of in-game theory. That's theory. Something that has to do nothing with any application, it has to do just with theory. In behavioral economics, we have found out that not all consumers are rational. What's a big problem, no? For all our indifference curves, they look so pretty. How come that they are not rational? So we need to come with a new model. For example, what do you do when you are talking about the firm? For maximizing profit. Are firms maximizing profit nowadays? Some firms are not. Some firms are maximizing a share of the market. So think about supermarkets. Supermarkets come to a country, and imagine Walmart arrives to Indonesia, and they come and they slash the prices at a loss, okay? For the first 2 years, everything is super cheap. Super cheap. They take all the little shops, close down because they cannot possibly compete, and they get monopolic power. So the firms nowadays, it's a fallacy. We're not maximizing profit. We're maximizing a share of the market. So our assumption about the model might be wrong. So that's a model that could be interesting. And I think it exists. It's theoretical, purely theoretical. So it's just how it's a game. Enter into the market at the loss, and it's without data. So that could also happen. Yeah, answer the question. Yeah. Anyone else? No? Yeah.
Thank you, Doctor, for your presentation. I have two questions. First, friends of mine, she is younger than me. We are in different years in undergraduate programs. She asked me how to make a powerful research paper because her supervisor asked her to please make a bombastic title. But I thought maybe he want you to make an implicit title when you didn't mention the variable, the dependent over independent variable. But until now, I didn't get answer what is the bombastic title. And then the second question is, you say when we make a hypothesis, we use the strong positive sentences. But at least from my experience and my friends of mine, we usually to use a technique to write hypothesis with interrogative sentence. So I want to know your insight about this. Thank you.
Okay, so the title is super important, and that requires a lot of creativity. So it's a difficult one, but it has to be catchy. Because remember, economists, we're all nerds. We think we're cool. We're not cool. We're super nerds. So try to find like a catchy topic. I think there is a website that is like best titles in economics. My favorite is The Empirics Strike Back from Star Wars, right? The Empirics. So it has nothing to do with the title. I am struggling with the title for my paper. So my technique is called the click, and it measures polarization. So does polarization click? So if you come with a nice idea, please send it by email. It's difficult. It's a difficult one, but it requires some creativity, and it will come. The second question about your technique, yes, it varies. To have a question is a conservative approach because you are not saying, oh, it's going to increase or it's going to decrease. Does mother's employment have an effect on daughters? Be brave. Be brave. Say what you believe. There is nothing wrong in your dissertation to say, well, actually, the data tells me that no, it doesn't matter. No, you're not writing. I always say that writing a proposal is like an engagement. Okay, you're not getting married yet. Okay, it's just a stage. It's like an engagement. So you say you're going to do this, whether you do it or not, that's another thing. Okay, so you still can run away. Correct? Okay, so that's how I feel. Anyone question? Anyone on Zoom? I think there is a question on Zoom, no? No? On the chat? Excellent. So thank you very much. And tomorrow is our last lecture. I will promise it's going to be short so that you can go. And thank you very much for everything. Take care.